What's up, CFGI crew? We have a life challenge coming up this Saturday, and I wanted to shoot a video to discuss what the life challenge is for those of you guys who have never done one before, and also discuss how this one's going to be different for those of you guys who have done one before but are interested in maybe doing another. We often have repeat life challengers. What the life challenge is. So, the challenge is 30 days. It's a habit based challenge. So you guys will be provided with, I think it's about 8 or 10 different daily habits to experiment with and play around with. A lot of times it's things that maybe you're not really concentrated on, or you're not specifically focused on. So this gives us an opportunity for you guys to develop some daily habits that are typically very positive, and also to have some accountability while you do that. Just like a CrossFit gym is great at pushing people past their limits by having other people do the workout with you, this is the same way, right? If we can keep each other accountable as we attempt some new daily habits, oftentimes that can be very motivating in place of just trying to do it by yourself. So these challenges are the same. Why life challenges versus like a nutrition challenge? I did nutrition challenges for years, and what I found is like life, there's a lot of different factors, a lot of different pillars that can help keep you on track. And if you don't have a good system based on those, or a system based for those pillars, it's easy to fall off. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have somebody who's relatively new to the gym. Let's say they've been coming for 3 or 4 months. They've come 3 or 4 times a week. Well, they've developed a healthy exercising habit, right? Which is great. Let's say, which is pretty often that person doesn't have great nutritional protocols, right? So they're not eating a very healthy diet on a day-to-day basis. Well, that's great. You're exercising, but to really get the most juice for the squeeze, right, you need to make sure that you're eating properly as well, right? You'll reach your goals a little bit faster. Well, let's say a person like that gets into a car accident, right? They don't really have any other habits built in other than daily exercise, and now all of a sudden they can't exercise, right? So now you're relying on your nutritional system, which you haven't developed yet. Let's say you're also not sleeping properly, so you don't have a good sleep habit or rest and recovery system built in. Because you're not allowed to exercise anymore, your mental health starts going to shit. So you can see how the house basically collapses without that solid pillar of positive habits. Well, now let's take that same person who's done a few life challenges. They've dialed in their sleep. They know how to eat properly. Their mental health is on point because they've been doing breath work and meditating. Well, a person like that who gets into a car accident and is not able to exercise anymore, well, at least they're still able to eat well, and they have an understanding of what they should be eating. They're also recovering, so they're going to feel better. They're going to recover from their injuries from the car accident. And ultimately, if they still can't exercise, they'll be back to exercising relatively quickly. That same person who gets into a car accident and doesn't have any of those habits built in quickly collapses into themselves, right? So these life challenges are really about finding balance for each person and developing some resiliency around their daily habits. So that's kind of why we do it for those of you guys who've never done a challenge before. And then for those of you guys who have done one, how this one's going to be different. So for the first time during one of these life challenges, we're also going to have a book. The Untethered Soul. I don't know if you guys have read this before. It's one of those books that if you have read it before, it's not going to hurt you to go back and read it again. It's a pretty easy read. It's like a couple less than 200 pages also. And the print is not like super small. So for those of you guys who are a little intimidated by reading or maybe haven't read in a while, it's a pretty easy book to get into. It's a real easy read. So we'll have that as part of it, which we've never done before. We'll have some daily reading practices, as well as we'll have some discussions about the book throughout the challenge. We'll have creative work as part of this challenge as well. So one of the last challenges, we did a little bit of artwork based on some art therapy, which was a lot of fun. We got some good feedback from that. We're going to have some gymnastic work as well. So some gymnastic strength building as part of this challenge. You typically will see a physical component as well. We're going to do sun exposure this time. We did cold showers the last couple times. We'll do some morning sun exposure and evening sun exposure. And then we're going to play around with some caffeine challenge this time as well. So there's always a alcohol consumption component and a challenge and and this time we're gonna have a caffeine component. So those of you guys who have done the challenge before know this, but those of you who have not, I'm not going to tell you guys that you can never drink alcohol. I'm not going to tell you that you have to eat totally clean for 30 days, but you accrue points for the positive. You do not lose points for the negative, if that makes sense. So you guys will be able to have, let's say you got a football game you want to go to and you want to drink. That's not a problem on these challenges. You just don't get points for clean eating that day. The caffeine thing, if you decide you want to drink some coffee, you just don't get points for not drinking caffeine that day. So, like I said, it's a good opportunity for you to expose yourself some things that you're not normally exposed to, and it is a challenge. So there is actually a challenge component to these things. Anyway, the seminar will be this Saturday. Typically, I'll start the seminar at like 7:30, so we can get done by the 9 o'clock class. Usually, it takes about an hour. We'll do weigh-ins starting at 6:30. So I'll have people come into the gym and do body scans. We do a scan at the beginning of the challenge and a scan at the end, and then we see how your body composition has changed over the course of those 30 days. Typically, what we'll see is anywhere from like a 1 to 3% loss in body fat, or 1 to 6%, maybe 7%, I think is the most we've ever seen. And then typically we'll try and get people to add like 1 to 3 pounds of muscle, depending on what your goals are. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Coach Casey, and we will get you guys set up and answer any questions that we have. Love you guys. Cheers.